Get this going. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Luke.
Heyo.
Look, man, we're midway. We're midway in December. Like, year's almost up.
Mid-month.
You know what's interesting
Q5
about
in the
that?
heat of the Q5.
Q5. Every time this time of year comes up, people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's December,
Right.
whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's so late in the year." And I started thinking about that, and I understand where they're coming from because things typically go fast the older that you get, as long as you're busy. But it comes every year. Every year it comes after November. November comes after October. October comes after September. So it happens. So the fact that you don't believe it, what do you believe? Is it supposed to go shorter? You
What
know?
do you believe? Days are long and the years are short, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's new with your neck of the woods? I've been seeing you do a bunch of AI driven ads.
hmm
It seems to me that you're using this brunette, attractive brunette AI,
Oh yeah.
and uh, how are those converting?
I haven't really been tracking metrics on those. It was one of those things where I was like, "Hey, I'm going to test this out and try it." Um and it's I need to. I want you have the capacity to be able to do it like make the AI yourself. But I haven't gone in and implemented that portion of it yet. So I just set up like the the avatars that they have um, out of the box.
Okay.
Created my avatar. Uh, so I think there's something that I still need to do where I'm connecting. Like I have to provide like consistent scripts to do my own avatar,
Okay.
whereas I was able to pre-program the initial one, and it will just put out content based off of an initial single run programming, um, and just create videos and schedule them out automatically.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
so you have to do a bunch of things so it can learn your mannerisms and your voice and
hmm
such. But
Yeah.
you have the option of just what's the service called? I can't. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember
So
the name of the
I
service.
think this one is Captions.
Captions
Like the
does that.
mobile app, the Captions, like the mobile app, or
I didn't know. I have captions. I didn't know that it does that. That's kind of
so
news
their
to
their
me.
their first thing, their yeah. So I'm almost positive that this is on Captions. So they have the mobile app, the mobile version, and I want to
Okay.
say there's a couple.
Well, Opus
Yeah,
Clip.
so I
I
think
mean, Opus Clip.
okay.
Does Opus Clip do it?
There's Opus Clips, but they're not doing the avatars. I had Hey Gen was another one that I was
Hey Gen.
testing
That's
out.
what I was thinking.
Um,
But what you
but
did was not on. That was on captions.
no,
That wasn't on
this
Hey Gen.
this stuff is on Captions.
Wow,
So
that's pretty cool.
um, yes, so it's creating the avatar, it's creating the scripts and posting. And I haven't.
And
I mean,
posting. So there's.
and posting
So
and
you set it
scheduling
and
out.
forget
So
it.
it's a set it and forget it. And I think it's doing 2 to 3 of those a week right now. I really want it to go back because it's definitely not getting the type of reach that or views that it's pegged as an AI.
I'm gonna go.
So
I'm gonna share. I'm gonna go to captions and see what this looks like for us. So here we are at captions.
yeah.
So the plans. I think I did the annual plan. I think I'm only on pro. Yeah, I'm only on pro.
Okay. So you should be able to have some like beta access or like trial access to it where they'll let you get in and play around with it, but you can only go so far with it on the pro. So I mean it's a really cool upsell mechanism internally in the app. So it's like
Yeah,
go in,
what
play
well,
around it,
I've really
see it,
liked
you
captions.
know, yeah, see it in action, and then I think lets you get all the way up to like exporting it or doing something. But yeah, man. I mean, it's for as far as far as a set it and forget it. It's about as it's about as dialed in as you can get.
You know,
Um,
there's so many tools that you can choose from nowadays.
yeah,
And I can imagine I joke about this, but it's not really a joke. I still have real estate professionals asking me how to use hashtags when it comes to using social media.
that's
To this
wild.
day, when I say something like a digital strategy, they automatically think about social media. They don't even, most of them don't even understand that search is really the one that drives a lot of things,
Right.
especially when, when someone's looking for information, they're going to search. They're not going to social. So when it comes to AI, I think AI is the catchphrase right now. I think that's the
Yeah.
it's not new, but I think that that's the hot thing right now.
It's definitely been the definitely has been, and I mean I think it will continue to be,
Yeah.
in the forefront. I mean it just continues to, I mean obviously there was a first initial like major wow push. Things subsided pretty substantially, but now I think we're really kind of getting into a phase of actual usable products are becoming more fleshed out and coming to market, um where it's not just hype in theory, but we're starting to see some good, some usable stuff. So yeah, so this that captions, like I have 9 videos that are posted out to my my on my TikTok. The problem is they're getting pegged as AI, and nothing is getting over 200 views.
Ah,
Um,
so the platform itself is starting to tag things as AI, and it's not. That's interesting that you just said that because, and tell me if I'm interpreting this correctly, that organic, not organic, but unique and custom content that's being created by a human being is is the one that's getting preference.
yeah. I mean, it's like you compare that to like another, like the last video I did, like 3,200 views.
On TikTok.
Yeah, on so this is TikTok. So 3,200 views versus the last AI 85.
So are you, is that, I'm noticing most of your stuff coming up on TikTok. So I don't spend a whole lot of time on the platforms. I practice what
Hmm.
I preach.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't really look at LinkedIn, but I'm looking at those maybe once a day.
Yeah.
I'm not really spending a whole lot of time on those, but I'm seeing that the stuff that you're doing is mostly on TikTok. Are you focusing on TikTok?
Not necessarily. I mean, it was. I did have a good push there for a while, but I will most likely continue to revisit. This is in a larger part of like just trying to figure out good content creation processes that I could continue to um do on a consistent basis. And obviously this is, I mean, in practice, in theory it's great, but it's just not getting the views. Um, Now, if you were to scale something like this up and create a bunch of TikTok accounts and like gray label, I mean, you're talking kind of gray label, but you could really get a bunch of views completely automated in mass. If you're creating
Yeah.
a dozen new TikTok accounts and pushing out all this automation, that all adds up.
Yeah.
200
Sure
views
does.
across 20 accounts every single day. That's not nothing. It's nothing. So it's like, but now we're kind of getting into, way far away from like what like a normal real estate agent or loan officer would do. Um, so for me personally, like I'm just trying to figure out what's going to work good with like with me. And I think probably what I'll probably lean into more on like TikTok or like YouTube is just trying to do live videos, just because um just work it into like whatever I'm currently doing, right? Like just like, oh, I'm having this call here, I'm gonna go live.
So you're doing
You
live
know,
TikToks.
I have not done anything, but that's most likely gonna be my next iteration of what I'm gonna test.
I
Um,
find I like going live. Like you and I have talked about doing these in batch,
yeah,
and I was going to talk to you about that. I like going live. The reason why I like going live is number one, it's it's not it doesn't come off scripted because it's not scripted.
yeah,
But number two, you and I mean, I think we've been doing this for more than a year now. And we haven't hit every single Friday, but we've hit most Fridays.
yes,
We're probably at 90%. And no editing.
right.
The
That's
Yeah, the whole amount of time. If you and I were to batch these, we would spend at least an equal one of us would be spending at least an equal amount of time
right.
editing the back end of it. And with this, with the Ecamm production software, one of the things that I want to do is I'm gonna get us an intro for next year. So we're gonna go live. It's gonna have like an intro scene, and then it's gonna fade into us. So there's some things that I'm going to be doing from a production standpoint on the fly, as
Yeah,
opposed to changing it. And then with AI, it can now evaluate our whole recording. It can create a lot of different content for it. Have you been using the how I have it recording just your camera? Have you been using that in your stuff?
no. Again, I've really dropped the ball with like content, production and chopping it up. I was doing pretty pretty consistent, but got away from the content stuff, and really, so I'm in a process now of like getting ready to circle back to it, because I went like the pendulum swinging where I was like doing a bunch of content. Now I'm swung back to doing a bunch of like tried and true, or just um Facebook group, organic, direct message, building out uh, a cold outbound team, and then circling back to content now.
Got it. So that's awesome. Obviously, I follow what you're doing. You're doing a lot of great stuff in the digital space, especially when it comes to real estate and mortgage professionals. One of the things that I'm going to bring to your attention, you might already know this, but what I'm finding is that a lot of people in my space, in the professional development, in the real estate training and
Hmm.
learning space, they don't know about this. So you tell me if you knew about this. So the do not call rule governed by TCPA, the FCC.
Yep.
Did you know that they've amended the TCPA and a new, more strict rule goes into effect January 27th of next month? So January 27th, 2025. Did you know that?
What is the more strict? I did not know that. And what is the more strict rule?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked. Let me share my screen.
Ta-da!
So while you were talking, I just
Nice
pulled
tee
this
up.
up, and this is just a blog post. I have the actual law right here, but
Yeah.
instead of trying to decipher it, it says right here is that this past December, the FCC adopted rules intended to close the so-called lead gen loophole in the TCPA. To close this loophole, the FCC amended the definition of prior express written consent to make it unequivocally clear that lead generation and comparison shopping websites must obtain a consumer's consent to receive robocalls and texts sent utilizing an auto dialer or artificial or pre-recorded voice, one seller at a time, rather than having a single blanket consent application. So what this means is all this automation such. Number one, auto dialers, people shouldn't be using them anyways,
Yeah.
or auto texts. You can't just upload a list and blast it. You actually have to do one-to-one contact, but you also, each person doing it has to have the express written consent. So if you and I were the same company, you would have to get express written consent, and I would have to get express written consent from everyone. And
So you're telling me that all of my um, website visitors that I'm able to get all of their contact information from third parties and automatically call them, I can't do that anymore
that's what it says, unless they have express written consent, and
with
you have
me.
you have to track that with you.
Right.
So if you have them,
Like so, see, we're getting
neither one of
I'm
us are
I'm I'm getting
equivalent.
their IP address and where they opted in at originally back in like 2017 from some sort of like, you know, uh, credit reporting company or whatever. Um,
Okay, what service are you using to do that? Do you remember? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I have a couple of them, but it's I mean it's essentially there's it's like data enrichment, like
Yeah,
so it's anybody who
it data
comes.
scrapes, right?
Yeah,
Someone hits it,
so
they look at the
anybody who
IP, they
comes to
cross
my
reference
site,
it with.
it's like ping, and it'll match like 40% of the people that come.
Dude, I'll tell you what, that
Um,
is freaky because I had an appointment to do a meeting with a real estate company, and of course
mhm.
I wanted to check them out, so I went to their webpage. I went to their webpage, and then like 10 seconds later, I get an email from them. Hey, we are at the website. So for me as a
It
consumer, that would freak me out. I'm like,
the data on there is ridiculous too. Like it's got your property address, if you have a loan on it, like your interest rate, like your political leanings, what magazines you subscribe to, if you have children, like your education, your hobbies. It's wild the type of stuff that it's just,
wow.
there's massive databases of
So my
of
thing is when
contact
it comes
information.
to lead generation, you always want to focus on getting the four main data points. You want their name, you want their phone number, email, and address. That's kind of like the
Hmm.
starting thing. But then you want to work to get birthdays, anniversaries,
Yeah.
etc. So what I just heard you say is you already get that. You can just pay for a service. It'll cross-reference your IP with all these different databases, and you can get that for as little as a few cents a lead.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
pretty gnarly.
Okay. Well, yeah, but to that point, yes, based on what I am understanding about this new January rule, it closes out that loophole. And
That
like
makes sense.
everything, look, man, the do not call
Yeah.
rule has been around for a long time, and you still have real estate agents and more Logan mortgage loan officers still cold calling. They're
Right.
still not checking the do not call list. They're still using multiple line dialers. They're still so there's still. I wouldn't do it. I actually think that your first contact with a consumer should not, if you're going to claim that you are honest, trustworthy, and ethical, your first contact with a consumer should not be breaking a federal law, rule, and regulation. That's my thought process, especially when all the data says that nobody wants you to call them anyways.
Right.
So there's better ways of generating that lead. You're doing a fantastic way for agents to actually learn how to generate those leads. Once you generate that lead, now you can
Yeah.
call them. Now
Totally.
you can actually do your lead follow up. It blows my mind that we're in 2024 and there are still real estate companies, real estate trainers, and coaches that are the basis of their training program is to generate leads from an antiquated cold calling methodology. If it was that effective, Luke, every big in Tesla would be door knocking and cold calling if it was that effective.
Right.
Efficient.
Yeah.
It is effective. We've agreed on that. Okay, go,
It's effective.
looping back looping back around to this. Not an attorney. Everyone should actually do their own thing, but my understanding is that you have to have explicit written consent. Does it make it to where as if they opt into a lead form that has a disclaimer that they have to check mark saying that it's okay to do that? I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. People are just gonna have to roll the dice to do that.
Right.
But we do know that if they opt into something, you can opt into text messages. You can opt into a. Typically, they're opting into joining your list from an email standpoint.
Yeah.
That's still good. Who this affects, from my point of view, who this law affects are the people who are not complying with the original law. I get
Yeah.
a lot of different, I'm not going to say the name on here, but something popped up on my Facebook account. And it's a real estate broker owner coach here in Southern California. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm just kind of screening through the call and I came across this little segment when somebody, the agent's asking him, should they be calling people on the do not call list? His answer, kid you not, his answer was, as a broker, I'm going to tell you no. But as your coach, I'm saying yes. I'm like, well, okay, that's way to go. Hey, Luke, if you're
Yeah.
hungry, um, as a friend, I'm going to say that you have to pay for your meal. But as a life coach, I'm going to say just dine and dash.
It's interesting. I mean, I can understand where he's coming from. Like you obviously can see the answer that he wants to give, but he also's got to have the cover your ass response too. I'm not an attorney. I'm not telling you
But is
to.
he really though? I mean, is he really just saying, "Hey, I'm telling you," like if something really came down and he's recorded saying, "Look, on this side I'm saying not do it, but on this side I'm saying yeah, just do it." Is he really
Right.
covering his own on on a recording, blasting it on Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm privy to a lot of these major information on a lot of these major lawsuits, and I think the one of the nails in everybody's coffin is the fact that they're sharing way too much. Like, if you have that opinion, you should probably keep that to yourself and just share with that on a one-on-one basis, as opposed to recording that and that putting that out into the metaverse.
Right. Yeah. That's anything and everything.
Look, and you and I used to cold call like madmen. The fact that, but we did it when it was effective and efficient.
Yeah.
Like times have changed. Like, unless you're Amish, you don't see people out in a horse and carriage driving around, and they don't get, from them in the East Coast to going to California. It's going to take them like 6 months to go from if they did their horse and carriage all the way over here instead of a week. So there's technology, there's behavior patterns, there's I don't know. It's that I'll get off my rant on that one right now. I would say that there are two main things that another video I listened to, and I used to subscribe to this belief is that the number one skill a salesperson needs to know or the number one skill that a person needs to know is sales skills, knowing what
Hmm.
to say, how to say, and when to say it. I disagree. I now think that the number one skill is to how to generate a lead, because what's the point in learning how to sell if you have nobody to sell to?
Right.
Like, that's kind of like the oxygen mask in a plane. You put the oxygen mask on first. Go get leads first, then focus on converting them. Don't focus on trying to get really, really good at converting, because you're not going to get that great until you actually generate a lead. That's my so skill number
Eh,
one, lead generation. Skill number two, conversion.
Yep. And if you if sometimes people need to acquire skill number two before they move on to skill number one, which is a lot of times just working for somebody else who's got the number one
100%.
dialed in. And when you have the capacity to sell, you're like, hey, my next piece of the puzzle here is getting my own leads, and you're increasing your value, and then
Yeah.
you can become a rainmaker. Then you can
Yeah.
put other people into that
Yep.
next phase.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Well, will you send me that link of the IP services that you're
yeah, yeah,
using?
yeah.
Just ping me on that. I'd
I'll
like to
shoot
look
you.
into that.
I'll keep that stuff on the off of the radars, but
Yeah, yeah.
as we come into January 1.
Well, the way I want to use that is I'm going to be focusing on developing out stuff. My in-law, my sister-in-law is in from Dubai,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to be focusing on kind of the international thing. But I'm also going to dust off the whole foreclosure assistance, the
Hmm.
default assistance, and I'd really love to be able for anybody to hit the site. If they don't download the free report, then uh, over, like, give it maybe 10 or 15 days and have it drop a postcard. So I don't want to use it for cold calling. I want to use it to align with the traditional mailing,
That's smart.
because I firmly believe that there is still a place. I think that mail, traditional mail, physical mail,
Yeah.
is more valuable today than it was back when you and I were, a decade ago. And I think the reason why is because people are gravitating towards the free. And I think there's a lot of competition for people's attention on
Yeah.
social and search. And I'm going to still do that. But I also, because the whole point is to get the physical to drive to the digital.
I mean, it's that the old omnipresent
Yeah.
approach. I mean, if
Yep.
you can be in their mailbox, be in their inbox online on the socials, their inbox on email, and their text message, on their
Yeah.
computer, on
Be
their
everywhere.
phones as they're
Everywhere.
cruising around. And guess what? Like you're gonna win that business. It
You're
might
going to win
not
it.
be tomorrow,
Yeah. Might not.
but
Yeah.
they are
And,
gonna.
and, they're getting to know you, like you, and trust
Yeah.
you.
Just
So,
like just like both you and I always say, it's like we've by the time we schedule that call, we've already made the decision to buy.
yep, 88%. That was as of 12 years ago. That numbers, I think, has gone up. Okay. So, my friend, we are at time. I know that you have a hard stop, so do I. But I don't have any. I'm planning on next Friday. That'll probably be the last one for the year. Who knows with us?
Right?
And, rock and roll. I'll see you next week.
Let's get it.
Bye.
Whoop, whoop.